Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, Dish Out on the Movies. And today I'm giving a review of Season 2 of Your Honor, a series that starred Bryan Cranston. I saw the first season, and this was quite different than the first season because everything, the boy who ran into the kid and killed him and left the scene. He was killed. He died at the end of season 1. His father, the judge, is Bryan Cranston. He was a decent judge previously on all his other cases, it appears, and actually tried to help people. But he wanted to protect his son. He was afraid that the boy who he killed ran over. He was riding a motorcycle. Was the son of the Italian mob.
Well, so Safi, what did you think of season 2? Because
I thought that the second season, since everything's been done and said and done.
What?
The kid was killed.
Adam
was killed. The mob boss's kid was killed. And then Bryan Cranston, his character did all this shady stuff to keep his son from being killed by the mob people.
So what did you think about season 2?
Well,
because that's what I just asked you, and I said I thought
it was kind of like a soap opera.
Oh.
I used to watch a soap opera called All My Children.
Yeah, Safi thinks that somehow...
But this was a lot better because, of course, soap operas, the word soap, I think is supposed to refer to all the romancing that's done. Well, that's not like this.
No.
This is
It
not.
It refers to the fact that these were shows that were on when housewives were at home, and so they would play all these soap commercials.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So that the housewives would
Procter
see
and
them.
Gamble.
And so that's why they're called soap operas.
Oh. Well, just as a person who watched, one in particular, there's a lot of romance. Because housewives apparently liked romance, but they just continued it. They had a character who had 12 husbands or something in her whole career, maybe more. It was like a big running joke. And I got sick of them. But anyway, this kind of it's just because there's a lot of characters, and they show in each episode, they go to every one, and it may be just for a little bit and show what's going on with them.
Yeah, Safi thinks that somehow they can do a show without doing that. I don't know, saying that it's like a soap opera is like an insult, and
no, I don't mean that at all.
I just don't know how else they could do the show without showing all the different characters and what's going on with them. That's a fucking show.
Well, they have to probably do it that way. I don't see any other way. It just kind of reminds me, the structure of it reminds me of that. But anyway.
Well, I thought season 2 was a lot better than season 1.
Yes, I did too.
And Safi at
season 1 was a drag.
At first, Safi complained about having to watch it.
No.
And every day she would not watch the episodes, even though she wouldn't have anything to do.
Oh, Marco, yes, I did.
Eventually, for the channel, and eventually. She had to binge watch episodes and make it a terrible viewing experience, even though I specifically did it on the calendar so that she would have to only watch an episode a day.
And how is this relevant to reviewing it?
Well, because at first you were very resistant to the show.
That's because it was such a downer to watch.
You didn't even want to like it, and you wouldn't even give it a chance, even though I told you that season 2 was better than season 1, regardless of Eugene, one of the worst characters in TV history, it's a better season, right?
Yes, it is.
Now you give your opinion and you talk about it. That's not an opinion, that's a cough.
My grades went all over from A to a D on each episode. There's 10 episodes. And the first one, of course, he's in prison. In the first season, you know he's going to go to prison, but they never show him until the second season. That's how it begins. And it was really depressing and gross because they force-fed him, and it was awful. And then he gets out, and so it continues from there, and there's ups and downs and sideways, and you have the Italian mob boss family, which is the kid that was killed. That's the family he came from. And then you have this African-American woman, mob. I call her a mob boss, too. She has her own group. So you have two they are almost like competing with each other, but they have different agendas. And what is really good too, I'll tell you about the characters that I like. I guess they're so bad, meaning they're bad evil. The guy who was in Breaking Bad, who was in the wheelchair, he comes in there and he's not in a wheelchair. He's walking around. He is older. He is the Italian mob boss's dad. And he used to be the mob boss there in New Orleans. And
he's not the mob boss's dad. He's the dad of his wife.
The wife. I'm sorry. It's her dad. And it used to be his territory, and he's really, he doesn't like her husband. He doesn't respect him. And he brings in these other mob characters from Chicago, and they want to take over the ports because they want to use them to run drugs and sex trafficking, and I mentioned a few other things, but smuggling, who knows what. And the one thing about the mob boss father, he is not into the drugs. He doesn't want anything to do with it. So anyway, he was a really good character, the grandpa, the mob boss wife's dad. He was a good character in Breaking Bad. Well, he's a really good character in this too. And he's evil all the way to the end. Once he comes in, he makes his presence known. And he'll waste you. He has no compunction about killing anybody. So, anyway, you have Thea. She's the daughter.
And you like that character.
Well, I feel bad for her.
After what she did in the finale.
I've been trying to figure out why she did what she did. Because
she didn't like what Adam did. And so that was the whole reason for her getting rid of the baby. It's all because she's mad at Adam.
But she said she forgave him and loved him.
No.
She said that.
No.
Well, she said it.
No.
Well, that could be. What you said.
No, that's the reason.
Okay, so anyway, she...
So her character's trash. She was really good. She was probably the best character of the show. And then they ruined her because she gave her baby away. She
gave the baby up for adoption after... she got mad at Brian because that's when she found out. He testified in court that his son had hit Rocco, not this African-American boy, Kofi. And so that kind of stirs up a big can of worms because Carlo had killed Kofi in prison. And, well, there's all that stuff with that. And so when she found out, she had been actually at Bryant, living at the judge's house with his mother-in-law and him, and they were they loved the baby, and and that was his grandson, technically, but she got mad at her family because she heard that her family was responsible for killing that boy's family.
And I don't know why you're not giving your opinion on anything, and you're just kind of saying what happened in the show.
Okay, well...
but anyways, like, I would have been mad at the family because they didn't kill Eugene. And I think that, like, Eugene deserved to die. And so I would have actually been, like, even more mad at them because they didn't kill Eugene.
Well, they didn't talk about doing that. They talked about killing the judge. Remember? Between the Italian mother and the grandpa, they said, well, let's get rid of the judge. And she said, yeah, I'm all for it, but they never talked about and so I guess they thought...
Yeah, they did.
They did not talk about that at all.
They opened up the season with them trying to go after him, and then he just gets away with everything. And then later on, they thought that the corrupt detective, that he killed Eugene. And when they found out that he didn't, they got really pissed off because that's what they wanted to happen. So I guess we watched different shows.
Well, after that, then, they didn't act like they cared, but I guess they thought he was dead. Everybody thought he was dead, including the African-American woman mob.
Well, so, like, let's go through these characters, since you have a hard time, like, just
I know.
stating your opinion on what happened instead of just describing what happened in painstaking detail. Let's just go through all the characters and their stories and say if you liked or didn't like them.
Okay.
Because I don't know, you didn't even go through all your grades. We were too busy describing everything.
Now. I gave the episode 1 a C.
Hurry up with that.
Episode 2 a B-, episode 3 an A, episode 4 a C, episode 5 a C, episode 6 an A, episode 7 A, episode 8 B, episode 9 D, and episode 10 a C. Okay, and the D one is the worst one, and it's because it was very dark, and I thought it was very confusing, and it's just like, it's almost like they poured syrup all over the episode, and then you had to figure out what was going on. It was just depressing and dark.
Well, I don't agree, because it seemed like it could have gone to a good finale, and then they ruined it with the finale. The finale was just all about Eugene, basically. And let's just go through Eugene. Like, what do you think about Eugene? This isn't asking you what happened with Eugene, because nobody cares. Everybody's already seen it. Came out almost a year ago.
It was hard to believe, because he came back because...
No, don't describe anything. Okay. That's not what I asked. I asked, what do you think about this shithead character?
He's a terrible actor.
Yeah.
He has no affect for 99% of the time. And the only thing he got upset about, it seemed like, at the trial, he was mad because they were just talking about this mother and her children. He wanted everybody to hear their names, so he got all upset then. And then he got all upset about he was going to have to spend 30 years in jail, in prison, for killing the son,
whose name you already know, because we already said it earlier in the video.
For killing Adam, for shooting him in the restaurant at the end of the first season.
And what do you just think about how Eugene just gets away with everything this season?
Well, that was confusing.
He gets away with this, he gets away with that. He walks from Texas to New Orleans in 6 hours or so. Like, it's just fucking retarded.
Yeah, I don't understand. I just don't understand what they did with him. The only thing I thought that was really good, and that was a twist, and I didn't notice it, and I'm glad that it's like a detail that was brought out, to make a story good, by bringing up an unexpected detail was the fact that everybody, about 100 times, probably during the whole thing, the first and second season, they said his family had died because there was a gas leak, and so therefore the house exploded. Well, Michael talks to the lawyer. He figures out, because I don't think he realized it too right away, that their gas had been turned off for weeks. So
yeah, like apparently the police never investigated that, like the most obvious thing to investigate. The police never investigated it conveniently for the show, and that's what Safi liked.
Well, I just couldn't. It was a very obvious thing.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad.
Well, we did talk about when it happened in the first episode. Nothing was done about it. They just kind of brushed it off and went away.
But in the second season, they stated clearly over and over that they investigated it.
I know,
and
but
so that means
you never saw it, and it didn't look like to me they investigated anything. You didn't see any investigators there walking around looking at things. Not at all.
Well, they said they did, and so like the fact that they did and that like they didn't investigate that is kind of like bad writing. But you like that part. That's why you give it a C. Because, like, do you like anything else about the finale? Like, do you like how Michael goes back to prison after all that he does for them?
That's another thing. I don't understand that. Because he is the one who called their attention to the fact about there being no gas. There couldn't have been a gas leak because the gas had been turned off for weeks. He's the one that told the lawyer.
Yeah.
And called attention to. If it hadn't been for him. And then, of course, how he gets off. Now, he shot somebody in cold blood in front of a ton of witnesses. And the government decides to protect him and give him a secret identity. You know, that witness protection program. And I didn't see that he was going to be testifying about anything. He just got up there and he testified. I mean, this was the trial.
And he basically didn't apologize or act like he did anything wrong.
Well, he did apologize to Michael.
Yeah, he didn't care. That was crap. Terrible acting. So
he's a terrible actor.
But the thing is that like he acted like it was an insult to him personally that he was being tried for this murder. Yeah. Like, it's real, like, he never did anything wrong, this Eugene character. Like, you know, he's never done anything wrong, and then he had the notebook thing where he drew out all his crimes in the notebook, and he left it for people to find.
And put his name on it in big letters.
I mean, it's just really bad, because I think the way that they're acting like on the show, they're acting like he's like a little child.
Yeah.
And he's clearly not a little child. Like, he is clearly, like, in his 20s or, like, close to being in his 20s. He doesn't resemble a child at all. But they're treating him like he's a little, like, 8-year-old boy or something. And it's just bad. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, you know, multiple times, too, in the season, they call him a child. Like, especially Lee, the lawyer that you don't like her. No. Would you say that you don't like her?
I could not stand either. They had two women lawyers.
Yeah.
They had Rosie Perez. She was working for the government. And then they had this other woman who was in the last season defending Kofi, and she got him killed, basically.
Yeah.
And she really was close to getting Eugene killed, too. And, I mean, she's terrible. She's a terrible lawyer. And then when she was in court asking people questions, she was very inappropriate.
And she was very petty, too. Like, she was just really mad at Michael for breaking her heart. So she kind of treated the trial like a high school classroom or something, where she's being really petty and obnoxious. Like, we're not calling him Your Honor. He's not a Your Honor anymore. Wah!
Yeah, I know. that's why I just like I couldn't stand her.
Yeah, I didn't like her at all.
And then he after being so disrespected, and he's just kind of numb to that anyway.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
Well, because he was suicidal, so.
Right. So, but he helped her. If
Yeah.
it hadn't been for him, and she so wanted her little Eugene to get off and not face any consequences at all.
And he never faces any consequences in this whole season, like, for anything. He gets shot, but he gets all the help that he needs, like, pretty easily.
Yes.
Even to the point where, like, he's negotiating for them not to take him to the hospital, and, like, they humor him for a couple hours. Like, that's how much control he has in this world. Like, there was this one commenter, and she kept on joking that, like, at the end of the season, he would get the key to the city and everything. Like, because he would get, like... Because, like, he's never done anything wrong, and let's just treat him like he's the greatest citizen in town and give him the key to the city and have the mayor shake his hand. Like, that's what we thought would happen.
Well, I just couldn't understand. I can understand because I think they would try to kill him. But the thing is, he did commit murder.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. Everybody saw him. It wasn't It wasn't like, oh, maybe it didn't happen because nobody saw it. It happened in front of everybody. He's like a mass shooter.
Yeah.
Not that he killed a bunch of people, but he went into a crowded restaurant and he was aiming for Carlo, who killed his brother in prison. And somehow he missed and he got Adam in the neck. And then he bled out, he killed him.
And then instead of facing the consequences after he knows that he just killed an innocent person, he runs away and acts like he shouldn't face any consequences, including, like, when he says a quote like, there's nothing left for me in that town. Like, and what does that mean? Like, well, actually there is, you killed an innocent boy who was about to... do whatever, and, like, you killed him for no reason at all. Like, it doesn't matter that you intended to kill someone else. Like, if you intended to assassinate Hitler and instead you assassinated a child who wasn't even a Nazi child, like, you would still be responsible for killing a child and not killing Hitler because you were intending to kill Hitler. Right, Safi?
Yeah, and he just... At the end, he leaves the prison, and the two lawyers are there, who I don't like. And because, the federal one is the one that got him the witness protection status. Although he's not testifying, he testified for himself.
Yeah.
It just happened to be that he mentioned about the gas, because the lawyer brought it up because Michael brought her attention to it. But he just walks out of prison and he gets into a limousine or whatever, waiting car, and they drive off. And he goes to his new life.
They treat him like he won the golden ticket. Willy Wonka.
The golden ticket.
And he did.
He didn't have to go to prison and he committed murder. He got away with it.
Yeah, and I was like, what, are they going to be his girlfriends too or something? Like, this is just bizarre. And so, like, what did you think? Did you like his character or... because let's move on after that, because we got to go through all the other characters.
He wasn't a very good actor, and I don't get, because everybody else, look at the judge. He has to go back to prison. He has to face his consequences.
Yeah. Even the lesbian woman, she's got to face consequences because her girlfriend isn't with her anymore. So...
Now, he's talking about the African-American mob boss woman. I never can remember. This is the part I had trouble with, too. They had a big to-do with their drugs. And what happens is she wants to buy this bar And then, so she has to get the money that she was supposed to pay for drugs, and so there's this back and forth, and it gets stolen, and she beats up her lieutenant because Eugene shows up, and they were supposed to hide him. Mo is the lieutenant's name, and he was supposed to hide him away, and he didn't tell the mob boss woman, and so that was kind of a betrayal.
Well, so what did you think of her?
Well, I had a hard time understanding her sometimes. I get into these, it was very dark. They had the lights practically to a dimming level, and I didn't understand her.
Because of her voice?
She was mumbling. It was like she was mumbling and talking really low, and of course she had an accent. And I had a hard time understanding her. I thought she was foolish, and I didn't get that because she is like a mob boss. She's dealing with drugs. She's dealing with people who are selling, or they're selling the drugs to her, and then she sells them and gets profit. And she ought to be a little bit more savvy, and she just kind of flips them off because she wants this bar. It's so important to her.
The club.
And this club, though, now I don't know who that was. I don't think that was Alicia Keys, but the woman who sang was really, really good.
Yeah.
And that was her girlfriend, and she got the stage. She said this too. I got the club because of my father, and I got the stage for you. And she threatened her accidentally with a gun because she had just been robbed, and the girl didn't like it at all.
But you also said that you felt like her character wasn't very fleshed out.
No, I don't think so.
She was a lot more fleshed out than in season 1, though, right? Like in season 1, she's hardly even in it. So
she is more fleshed out, but they still needed to do some work. She just almost 3/4 of the season, she wanted this club, and she just couldn't do anything else. She couldn't exist without getting this club.
Well, I guess it's just significant because it was right across from the hotel of the mob.
The Italian mob.
It was like getting that significant property, I guess, was a big deal for her.
But in the end, she gives it up.
I know.
She gives it to the Italian woman.
But later on, though, it's funny because later on, Jimmy is obsessed with his own property. Like, what was that place? Remember the place that he wanted Michael to help him with? And it was, like, going to be this big development. Like, he was obsessed with that for, like, half the season himself. Right?
Yeah, but the problem is, his father-in-law brought in these other mobsters, and they promised to give him money to front the property in exchange for the use of the ports for all their illegal drug smuggling and human trafficking. They said this. And so
whoops.
He didn't want to participate in that. But it wasn't just that. His daughter had been, that dumb woman federal lawyer came to see the daughter and said, "You have to turn on your father, Fia. I want to have a talk with you." And she said because those people, they were called the Uvaldis, they came into the city, and they were watching, the feds were watching them and the grandpa, and she told him and said, whatever you do, you better not do it with those Uvaldi people. And he stopped it. That's when he stopped the project.
Let's continue going through the characters, because
okay.
So you didn't like the lesbian, and you didn't.
No, she was a good singer, but that.
No, I mean the main lesbian, the mob boss.
Oh, I had a hard time understanding her.
But did you like her or not?
Well,
it's a simple question. It's a yes or no question. Like stop acting like Monk, because that's what Monk would do. And so, like, I would also say, like, did you like the you didn't like the female lawyer, either of them, the one who, I mean,
I thought they were stupid and pushy and foolish.
Didn't the other one, like, the whole season, all she did was want to have a talk with people? Like, that's all that she did the whole season was, like, she went up to characters and she's like, I want to have a talk with you!
Well,
like, that's the whole season, her character. That's all she does.
She almost gets the judge killed because she, unbeknownst to him, she puts a little, I don't know what, bug in his, in the collar of the man's shirt. There's these little plastic inserts to keep it stiff. And she put it on one of the inserts. And fortunately, Michael found it before he met with the Italian mob boss, because they searched everything, and they did find one plastic insert, but the other one wasn't there. That's the one he'd thrown in the trash.
Another thing, and you didn't really answer my question, though. You just
Okay.
kind of explained details of what happened, but
Well,
another
thought
thing
she was willing. I don't think she was very careful.
yeah.
And I thought she was willing to sacrifice anybody for her career
Yeah.
and what she wanted to do. No, I don't like her at
It's
all.
just too bad, because I think one of the biggest issues this season is that there wasn't a clear villain. Like, you had her, you had Jimmy, you had Jimmy's wife, you had Jimmy's wife's you had Jimmy's wife's father, you had Eugene as a villain for sure.
Well, he was a different kind of villain.
Yeah, because they try to make him like a hero, even though he's like an evil piece of crap. And then you have like the other mob boss, the lesbo mob boss. She's a villain. You had the Roderick guy, who you haven't even mentioned yet. The guy from Texas. He was a villain. So like this. Oh, and you had all the police. The Magnum Force. Like in Dirty Harry, like they were all villains. So like this season had like a lot of villains. And I feel like that was kind of an issue this season, is that I felt like they had to rush it to an end again because of Bryan Cranston retiring. So they couldn't do like a season 3, 4, and 5. So
he seemed glad for it to be over too.
Yeah, so they had to shove all these villains into the season. And it really shows, because like it's very disjointed. Like if you tried to like go through the whole season, you would get a headache, because like that's why I liked reviewing it episode by episode, because it was so much easier to do that.
Well, my issue was I looked at the Baxter family. That was the Italian mob boss family. And I was thinking, who's the bigger villain?
Yeah.
The mother or the father? And it took all season because he, like I said, he did this thing. He put a gun to Michael's head.
Well, he had an arc, and Safi, for some reason, she has not realized that he had a character arc this season. Like, she doesn't even realize it or know.
Well, I guess he did.
The way that he had his arc, where at first he was this really weak gangster who wasn't really, like, he didn't really do much of anything. He left it all to his own men to do it. And he went through this arc where he became a man. And he became, like, the gangster that you thought he was in season 1, but he wasn't. But Safi didn't see it that way, because she thought he was already like that in season 1. She thought he was already a cold-hearted gangster in season 1. But he clearly wasn't at that point yet.
He had little shades of it, but his wife ends up being a cold-hearted. And I wondered if she was going to be the most evil one. And she was, because it's really funny. She complains to her dad, because her dad used to be the mob boss there who controlled the area. And then when she and her husband got married, and then he went to Chicago or New York or whatever. he became the mob boss guy. And she said, well, why can't I do it? He's no good. He's doing a terrible job. And he implied that she couldn't do it because she's a woman and that just isn't what they do, which is true. You don't see hair bop and for Italians, mob boss women. And so what happens is, in the end, I just thought it was so funny, she manipulated her father into shooting her husband, so she got him out of the way. And then they had secret cameras all over the hotel. It showed him not killing because he didn't die. That's what we find out at the end, shooting her husband, so he goes to jail. And then of course they show the lawyer coming to his cell, of course, to tattle on people so he can get off, like Eugene, I guess, whatever, which I kind of, or tattle on the Uvalde people, whatever. But anyway, she got her dad out of the way so she could be in power. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. She's more evil than all three of them. She's the most evil one.
Did you like seeing more of her this season? Because I thought it was
she
good.
Played this very significant role.
Very good acting, so.
And then I think too with Fia leaving, giving up the child for adoption. I don't know if they don't know about it, but it seems like they just gave up and let her go, which I find that odd because they're so controlling. Because at first they had the baby, they wouldn't let her have the baby. She went to go see the priest to tell her everything that had happened, and they held the baby, and it's like they wouldn't let her have him. And I was like, are they going to take her baby away from her? and because I thought, well, maybe she was going to jump out the window with the baby and kill herself and the baby, and I just didn't know what was going to happen. In fact, I couldn't believe she gave the baby up for adoption. So, and Marco explained that, so.
Also, did you okay, I guess we've done enough of that, but in general, what was your favorite part and least favorite part of the season? Because my favorite part was obviously episodes 6 and 7, where they went into the wife's death. Because I felt like that could have been a whole season. Because it really was good enough to be like a whole season of story.
Well, they never, it's really funny, because in the first season, this is the reason why the kid was driving erratically, and he got so scared or nervous that he started having trouble breathing, and he had to have his inhaler, which fell on the floor, and that's when he ran into the motorcycle. And so they talk about his mom, Bryan Cranston's wife, got killed. She was murdered, but they never talk about it. And I thought, that's really strange.
I know.
And then for some reason in this season, it comes up.
It's because that was a huge plot hole.
Yeah, well, they solved the plot hole. What they did was since Bryan Cranston was out of prison, he was staying with his mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law, that's the woman who was murdered, they both want to know who did it. And what causes them to want to really figure it out and go after the truth was the fact that the woman cop that used to be his friend, they accused him of murdering his wife. Well, he didn't do it. And even his mother-in-law had thought, she said that to him, she thought he had done it, but it wasn't in him to kill his wife. Well, he didn't. It was a cop. Because there was a whole bunch of, like Marco brought up, a bunch of bad cops.
It was like Magnum Force.
And so...
Right, Safi? Do you remember that movie?
Yeah. There was a bunch of those.
Wasn't it exactly like that movie?
I guess so.
And so, Like, I thought that was the best part. Did you think that was the best part of the season?
Really good. It was almost like, and it was kind of like a surprise.
Yeah.
Because you didn't expect that at all. You never expected to hear anything because they never really went into it the first season. So you thought, well, why don't they think it's important enough to go into?
And it's not, well, I thought because, they could do a season 2 or 3 and they can go through it then. But even though they killed off Adam really early, so he'll never know what happened, but I really thought that was like the best part because like it felt so different from the rest of the season and it felt so focused.
Yes.
Like, they solved every little thing about it. Like, there's nothing about it that they left open. It's all completely done. And so I felt like if they had taken that energy and did the same thing with the fucking rest of the season, then the rest of the season would have been, like, masterful. But just as it is, I do think it's a huge improvement, which we both said before, which is good because at first Safi pretended like it was going to be bad and she wasn't going to like it at all.
Well, I just didn't like this depressing stuff. In it, like I said, it was like a soap opera in terms of that.
But
Fia and the baby, and then and that was the surprise too.
Well, don't you like Fia?
Fia had the baby. Yeah, I do, but I mean that was another surprise. He finds out that Fia had a baby, and it was his son, so he's grandpa.
I mean, you confided in me that you thought that the family, the Baxter family, was like the Addams family.
Yeah, I thought that the wife was like Morticia.
You said
and
that
the father was like Gomez.
You said that Fia was like your ultimate like goth girl crush.
No, I didn't.
Because she's...
I never said that. Marco's making that up. God, would you stop making up the bullshit?
Because she's the Wednesday of Your Honor. So...
Oh, God.
Safi's got a thing for Wednesday, too. But she won't...
Oh, my God.
She won't let me watch it.
Marco is just bullshitting like
but
you wouldn't believe.
I will be watching it, though.
Good for you.
Finally, after all this time of Safi not letting me watch it.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, we should explain what happened was our Netflix, Netflix sucks. And so they kept on making this thing where, like, you had to keep on logging in. And Safi wouldn't give me the password, so I couldn't log into Netflix to watch Wednesday. And so, finally now, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to watch it on YouTube, quote-unquote. And I'm going to review it.
Marco was just making up a whole complete fantasy story.
No, it's true.
No, it's not.
Like, for Netflix, like, they keep on locking you out on the computer. It used to be where you were logged in all the time, and it was perfect. But
I don't know what they did. I don't know why they did that.
It's to prevent, like, password sharing or some bullshit. It's it's so stupid.
Well, somebody did ask us to share our password, and we said no.
Well, it's funny because somebody asked me.
Illegal.
Well, who cares? Somebody
I'm not
asked.
paying for somebody else to use it.
Well, I know, but somebody asked me a link for YouTube, and I gave them a link for YouTube, quote unquote, and they were really happy about it. I'm like, it's fine because it's free, So YouTube is free. Wink, wink. So what was your least favorite part? Because my least favorite part for sure was Fia giving away the baby. Because I felt like, Safi pretended like there was nothing good in the show. And I thought that the baby was the one good thing. And so the fact that she gave up that baby, I thought that was terrible.
I don't understand why she did it. I didn't like that either.
But she's mad at Adam.
She said
I told you.
She's told the priest that she forgave him. She sat down with the priest after that trial, I believe, and she said, I forgive him.
But it's obvious she
didn't. I
didn't.
don't forgive my family because they didn't tell me, and they knew. That's what she said.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the baby.
I don't know.
Like, that's not the baby's fault.
No, there's nothing is the baby's fault, of course.
Like, geez. So, your crush giving away the baby.
Marco, stop saying that.
You didn't like that, but what was your least favorite part, as I just asked you?
Well,
what was your least favorite part?
I didn't like that woman, mob boss woman, having Mo.
Little
beaten up.
Mo.
Yeah, well, he was a very tall, skinny boy.
Well, his name is Little Mo. It's not just Mo.
Because she's Big Mo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
what I didn't like was the fact that he was going to have this really cool arc where he was going to, like, start his own gang or something.
Yeah, I didn't understand. That was what I was going to ask you. What was going on with that?
Oh, well, instead of doing that, he decides to just work for her again and be her bitch. And so then he betrays these other people and uses them to get back in her good graces. So I thought that was really shitty because I really liked his character the whole season.
I did too.
And then he did that, though, and I was like, oh, I don't like you anymore. Sorry. Unfortunately. You know, like, that really ruined him for me. Because, I mean...
she had him beaten up to a pulp.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought they were going to kill him.
Yeah. Well, I knew...
They threw him out of the car and left him out in the street.
I knew that they weren't, because the shot of him in the bathtub... when he's all beaten up, that was one of the shots they used in the trailer.
Oh.
And so I knew he was going to survive, but I was like, why would you go back with her? Like, just... I guess because he's loyal to family, but she's not. Like, that's the big thing about her in the season, is that she doesn't even care about her own family.
Well, they said that, too. They said all she cares about is that club.
Yeah.
And it's true. Almost the entire season... She has to get this club, and she has this money designated to get the club. But then it was money that was designated for these drugs to give to that bad guy that Marco was talking about. And then she decides she wants the club. And the guy who's selling it wants the money by a certain date. Well, so she's got to take back that money that was meant for the drugs, and so. You don't mess with people who sell, who are manipulating drugs. They're going to kill you.
Really?
Well, they broke into her sister's house in Houston or wherever that was, and they must have roughed her up and they messed up the house. And that's when Eugene happened to get away.
Yeah, he just happened to get away every time.
Really, and I
told you
about what Marco said about him, and I mean that kind of thing. They didn't know they were coming, so how did he get away?
He just, as I said in my reviews, he just slips away like the Grinch. You know, when the Grinch is sneaking into all the houses and stealing the presents. Like, that's what it's like with Eugene. He just slips away like a slippery seal.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that's... So, I guess, and I didn't like the part in the prison where they were force-feeding him.
That was the opening scene, though.
I thought that was gross. I don't care for that.
Well, I didn't like the mayor... I really liked his character in the first season, and I liked that they added him more into the second season. But I didn't like that they just kind of dropped him off of the season at the end there.
Yeah, they just showed him. They showed him that they didn't even. He didn't talk to anybody, or there was no interaction.
The last scene is like Bryan Cranston and him having this really intense conversation where it's clear that like something big should happen in a future episode, and then all of a sudden he just drops off and he's not even in the show basically anymore. And I was like, what the hell? Like, he should be a huge part of the finale and everything. Like, no. It's all about Eugene.
Which I don't get.
And now he gets to get away with everything as usual.
Yeah. So,
And you also, we should also say quickly before we get to your food review, there weren't as many courtroom scenes this season, and it kind of felt like a different show in a way because in the first season there were so many courtroom types of scenes. And what did you think about that? About not having all the courtroom stuff?
Well,
did you like it?
I was thankful that they had some because I thought there weren't going to be any.
Yeah.
So I thought there was just enough. And they were, they of course illustrated how annoying the woman lawyer was.
Lee.
And she was annoying the judge so much. And, there's a focus on being in a courtroom a lot lately on the news. So it's just fun to see. Because, I used to watch Perry Mason, and, they would do a lot of courtroom scenes. And so,
maybe
I thought this was interesting, but it really showed how annoying these lawyers were.
We could rank courtroom shows.
I don't know about that. But anyway,
but, what did
I was grateful that there were a few, because, I thought it was interesting, the interaction with the judge and that lawyer, because she was annoying him.
Yeah.
And you can see what it's like when you have a lawyer who's misbehaving.
Well, I'm just surprised that you really didn't like her, but you really liked the woman in season 1, the one who was really obnoxious and over the top, where she was like, F you to the judge. And then she did a pause and she was like, that was what Carlos said to somebody. Like, I was like, God, what is with this woman? Like, she really went over the top, and like, you liked her, but you don't like this one.
I don't know, Marco.
I'm just saying.
I couldn't stand either one of these lawyers. The Rosie Perez federal one, and this local girl who she didn't even want to be a lawyer anymore.
Yeah, she wants to do what? We don't even know.
No, we don't know.
Probably wants to find another old man like Michael, which, once again, they had no chemistry.
No, none at all.
So, I really didn't get that whole romantic angle because...
Well, I forgot about it, actually, because I knew it was fake.
He was like a father figure character to her.
Right.
And they had no chemistry.
I just don't understand why he has to go back to prison. Because if it hadn't been for him, he's the one that got the ball rolling. That's what they wanted from him anyway. To get the Baxter family. That was the Italian family. And he's the one that instigated the whole process. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have... They may have figured it out. I'm talking about the absence of a gas leak and how they were responsible for what happened. Of course, it doesn't show them getting in trouble for it. It just shows the grandpa is in jail, but that's because he shot his son-in-law. And it was on video. And his daughter wanted to get him out of the way because she wanted the power.
It's weird, though, how Eugene was so easily... forgiven for shooting that innocent guy in cold blood, Adam.
I know that.
But then,
he suffered, too.
But then Michael wasn't forgiven for what he did, even though he never killed anyone except for... Like, did he? He never killed anyone.
No, I don't think he did.
He never killed anyone at all. He rigged a trial because his life was being threatened, and he covered up his son's murder or his son's killing because...
he knew they would kill him.
Yeah, so, like, he literally didn't do half the bad shit that Eugene did, technically, and yet they'll never forgive Michael. Michael's bad forever.
Yeah, that's what I don't like. And it looked like Bryan Cranston, he does not want to return.
The look on his face at the end, too, like, he just looked like, I'm through with this shit.
Yeah, I know.
I want to get this over with now.
Well, I think we have to finish now. I thought it was, I'll say the second season was a lot better than the first.
And it was worth it, right? To watch the second season at least.
Yeah, it's just, some of this stuff, it's just so negative to watch around the holidays. But of course you can watch these syrupy
Well, you've been
Christmas
watching
movies.
Fargo. Fargo's got some dark stuff in it too.
I just really like, because I like the woman character, because I think she's really, it's so funny, because she's a strong female character, which I hear constantly in these shows and movies. And they just say it, but they don't practice it. But she really is practicing it. So I like that, because it's real. That's the fault with these other shows. It's just nice. Instead of that's what a video should be. You see, don't tell. You see, show it. Instead of saying it, because when you say it like that, it almost doesn't mean anything. It's a joke. You can't take it seriously, and it becomes a joke, and it's no good. So anyway. So I gave, my food review is, I gave it an everything on it pizza, and then part of it's just cheese, and it has burn marks on it. Those are the bad parts that I didn't like. It's just plain cheese, and like maybe they were boring. That one season, or episode 9, I thought it was really dark and confusing, and I just had trouble understanding what was going on, and it just was so depressing and gray, and anyway, so that would be like a burn mark on the cheese part of the pizza, but the rest of it, all the ingredients, all the toppings represent all the different characters. Because they would go from character to character to character.
Oh, so which topping is Fia? Your
I don't know. I guess
favorite.
black olives.
Oh.
I don't know.
You know, olives are your favorite topping. That really suggests something.
Marco, if you don't cut it out.
That was like a Freudian slip there.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Because
so anyway,
olives are your favorite. Every time I order pizza, I always have to get Safi olives and mushrooms.
Yep.
So she just admitted Fia is her olive. Oh, who's the mushroom then? Fia.
I guess that would be Bryan Cranston.
Okay.
And then if there's capers or anything like that.
Capers.
What's the other thing?
They don't put
have?
capers.
Those fish things.
Anchovies. Ow.
Yeah.
Is that
would
Eugene?
Be the mob boss woman.
Oh.
The Italian.
Well, who's Eugene? Is he the is he the grease underneath? No, he's the grease underneath the pizza in the box. You know, there's grease in the box underneath the pizza. Like, that's what Eugene is.
Okay, so if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. We welcome all new... That was about rain. It's getting cold. It's supposed to be colder tomorrow. Become one of our subscribers. We welcome new subscribers. We like to hear your feedback.
Well...
So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.